Good morning, everyone, and welcome to tourismtechnology.com's webinar, Keeping Up with Mobile Technology. My name is Melissa Ennis, and I'm with Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador here in St. John's. We're very pleased you could join us today, and I would like to acknowledge participation from our partners on this project, the provinces of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador, and the tourism industry associations of each province, including the Tourism Industry Association of New Brunswick, the Tourism Industry Association of Prince Edward Island, and Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador, and of course Tourism Atlantic, ACOA. The aim of tourismtechnology.com is to empower tourism operators in Atlantic Canada to improve their competitiveness by effectively using online technology. We provide operators with the skills, knowledge, and expertise to take advantage of current online tools and resources by offering one-on-one mentoring, workshops, and tutorials, all ranging from basic to advanced levels of learning. If you're following along online today, please feel free to tweet or post using the hashtag TourismTech. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues in New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island, Alison Clark of TaiPi, and Mehmet Yunli with TaiNB. TaiPi is well represented today as our presenter is Jamie Vanderkoy. Jamie is a program director with TaiPi and the program Your Atlantic Experience, as well as an online marketing consultant for tourism specializing in marketing, customer experience, and technology. Jamie has over 17 years of IT and marketing experience, with the last 10 years being focused on online marketing and web development, as well as customer experience in the travel and tourism industry. He works closely with various departments of government in all 4 of the Atlantic provinces, as well as the federal Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, through various projects that he coordinates at the Tourism Industry Association of PEI. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Jamie to get started.
Thank you, Melissa. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about mobile technology and how it's been presented in the atmosphere in the last couple of years and where it's going. So before I begin, I'm going to just let you know that I will provide Melissa, or I have provided Melissa, a copy of this presentation, and I'm sure she's going to provide everybody a copy as well. So you don't have to take too many notes if you don't feel like doing that. Couple things about me. I've used a smartphone since about 2007, and a smartphone being a BlackBerry back then. I don't talk on them much, but I do use my long distance because it's probably free for me compared to my home phone. I tend to be a fairly heavy user, and I use a lot of different apps more than I actually use the phone for doing business, but I use Chrome and Kijiji and YouTube and Facebook and CBC. I tend to like a lot of content that's on CBC, and I watch programs and stuff like that, but I also get exposed to their digital advertising on CBC as well. And I always seem to be going over my limited data of 4 gigs per month very easily if I'm not careful. Neat little graphic that I found here right before I sent this to Melissa was that a lot of web traffic nowadays is coming from mobile devices. And this one was actually just released back in the first quarter of 2016 that over 50% of all web traffic is now coming from a smartphone, which is astounding but not surprising. So I'm going to just give you a couple questions really quick to think about. I don't really need an answer, but just a few things. Get you thinking how mobile technologies and mobile phones and mobile devices have affected your life and the life of your customers and how they're going to interact with you. So think about, what if I sent you an email? Would you be reading it from your mobile device first or your desktop? For me, I'd probably read it on my mobile device first, unless I'm sitting in the office. If I wanted to contact you, how would it be easier to do it? Would it be via text, Snapchat, Twitter, or some other messaging application? For me, probably a text if you really want to get my attention, Skype if you're in the office, email if you just want to pass me a note. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. But it's changed from year to year because of the technologies that are coming up. If I asked you to visit a website, or I told you about a website, how would you look for it first? kind of depends on where we're at, but good chance you're going to use a smart device or smartphone to look that website up. And the same thing, if I told you about a funny video or something, you would probably go look that up. You'd probably use YouTube and your smartphone to go look that up right first thing. So that's how I would do it. I expect most people would be the same way. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to provide you a few quick facts about mobile device use. I'm going to talk about mobile personas, and then we're going to touch on email marketing and how mobile and some best practices around that. Same thing with your website. I'm going to talk slightly about digital advertising and maybe how you can look to see how you can take advantage of that. And I'm also going to touch into how mobile actually affects your reputation as well. So, some quick facts. As I said before, a lot of people are using smartphones, but 80% of the internet users have a smartphone. Good chance if they're on the internet, they're using the smartphone or they have access to one. Apps. Apps are where everything is at. Everybody uses an app. If you go to view a video, you're probably using Vimeo or YouTube, the app for YouTube. You're not going through your browser and going to YouTube's site to view it when you're on a smartphone. You're using the YouTube app at the time. Almost 90% of people are going to use an app over a browser on their smartphone. Almost half of the consumers start their mobile search with a search engine. And a search engine isn't just Google. It's Bing. It's Yahoo. Yelp is considered a search engine. TripAdvisor would be considered a search engine. If I'm looking for a review, I'm searching for a review. They're really a search engine at that point in time. Even CBC or any of your news sites, if you go and start searching for an article, you happen into one of their apps, you can use their app to search for those articles. Again, most of it starts with a search engine at some point. Many companies are now starting to realize that mobile's where they really have to pay attention at. They've worked on their websites for a long time, but the desktop version of that website doesn't get viewed anywhere near as much as the mobile version does. Usually the mobile version, especially when you're in the travel industries, I think anyway, is going to be the first way that a lot of people are going to find you. I think especially if they're actually on the ground and in your area, if they're looking for something to do, they're going to pull their phone up and they're going to start searching for you. And if they see a link to your website, chances are they're going to see it on a mobile device and get there first. Good possibility they're on a desktop at some point, but I bet my money that they're probably on a mobile device in travel. And it's just increasing. More companies are optimizing their email and optimizing their websites for the increased traffic that's coming from mobile. It's gone up like 22%, as the slide says, since 2014. And I did find some other facts, but I didn't find a nice little sheet or anything to show you. But that just keeps going up and up and up and up. It's going to constantly go up until you can't go any further and plateaus. And many of the people that, again, search for a local business, they're searching on a mobile device. They intend to call, contact, or shop at that business usually within the first 24 hours, to possibly 48. And this is why you want to be able to present a good, solid website for your customers on a mobile device. They want to be able to find the contact information. They want to know about where what your services are, what your products are, what they can do, what your hours of operation. All that stuff has to be very available, and they want to see a great website that they can view on their phone and get all the information that they need. So how do you do this? Well, you got to start figuring out, identify the personas or the people that are coming to your website or viewing your emails or looking at your advertising. You got to develop a little persona. And one of the good things about doing this presentation was I stumbled upon this fella that had already done 3 basic personas. And they kind of fit I'd say most of the people that we would be targeting in tourism fit into these categories. They're very broad, but at the same time, I know I fit in one of them. And I would say my parents fit in the other one, and I know some younger people that are a little younger than I am fit in the first one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of these ones. Touch screeners. Really, they're the ones that have grown up quite a bit with access to the internet, access to a computer, access to a desktop and a mobile device for a lot longer. They're 18 to 34. They tend to follow the latest trends. If a new phone comes out, they're the ones that are probably going to adopt it fairly quickly. They're more likely to have a smartphone if there's that, and the smartphone's going to be basically attached to their hip. They like to download apps. They don't have any issues in downloading anything, trying something out. They do everything that really the smartphone's designed to do for the most part. And again, they're going to be the younger generation that are coming up and visiting us. The next ones are 24 to 44-year-olds, and I still fit in this category. And they're the people that have a small family, tend to be working class people. They don't have a ton of time on their hands. So when they start doing things, they're using their phones to manage their lives. They're using their phones to make things easier. And, you know, it's really because I can actually take the time that I have free at the moment while I'm waiting for somebody to come out to the car or waiting for an appointment. I can actually use that phone to do some of the research that I want to do. If I'm looking to buy something, this time might be Christmas gifts. It could be something else. I just take my phone out and I start doing it. I use it to kill time, but I also use it to be productive at that point in time. They're also likely to use mobile webs for coupons and sweepstakes and stuff like that, stuff that will benefit them in the long run. Then you have the 35 to 65 and plus. These are the people that are, you know, they're not really keen on it. They might not use it that much. They've always had a phone to probably talk on, and they communicate with their friends. They have one on their hip, but they just normally talk on it. But they're spending a majority of their free time with their family, and they're likely to increase how they're using their phone as time goes on. But they're not likely to get into the range that the green thumbs are in. So these, again, my father would file into this category. He doesn't have a smartphone, but he has a phone. And if I got him a smartphone, I know he'd use it, you know, just to kind of dawdle with a couple things. I might set him up with a couple apps, but he would never use it for very much. And these are the people that, you know, they're likely to increase as they learn the device, but they're not going to be a real big target for you. So when I found all these personas, the guy also gave a nice little chart that's up on the screen here now, and it shows a lot of these personas all have really heavy use in a lot of areas, and there's a lot of overlap with them. There's a lot of things that you can do inside your business that you can actually touch on all three of these different personas. But if you're targeting a touchscreen person, again, somebody that's, you know, an 18 to 34, 35-year-old, there's all kinds of opportunity. But if you're targeting, you know, somebody that is in the 34 to 44 to 65-year-olds, well, there's a few things that, you know, if you're doing mobile, are only really going to make a mark with them. But the really good sweet spot of that is the people that are in their mid-30s to early 40s. They are the ones that are using it every day for business. They're using it to manage their lives. It just makes things easier. And I think they're probably one of the more traveling kind of people that are in our industry and coming to visit Atlantic Canada these days. So, like I said, there's some overlap in there, but you can kind of use these ideas as a guide, and you can develop your own personas too. You can look at your website and see what kind of age groups people are coming in, if that's available on through your Google Analytics. You can also think about what kind of customers are coming through to your business and target them. You know that they're using it, so why not figure out how you can actually use it better to market better to more of them. So, next step, we're going to talk about a little bit about email marketing and mobile. And email marketing is one of my favorite things. Sounds kind of boring. I'm not that boring, as anybody that's seen me at a conference or so can tell you. But email marketing is a really neat way, and I still think it's probably the best way to get in touch with people. Over half the email that you send is still opened. 79% of people are surveyed use their smartphone for reading the emails. They still use the smartphone, but they still use the desktop. But again, like the fax they did at the first, the smartphone's probably the first interaction they're going to have with your email. So you got to make sure that an email is designed so it actually works very well on that smartphone. So again, a mobile-friendly email is an email that displays very nice, very concise. It looks good. It has the right messages in the right spots. It's easy to click through. It does everything that your customer needs it to do, regardless how your emails are being presented or how your customer's interacting it. That's what a mobile-friendly email is. It looks good on a tablet. It still looks good on a desktop, but it looks good on a mobile device as well. And how do you do this? Well, there's a few key things that you can do. First thing, use a template. Templates make it easy that once you get your email set and you know it looks good in these formats, you can keep templating it and just changing the content in it. It makes your life a lot easier because you don't have to design the email each time. You just have to rejig the content that's in there. As well, consistency makes a big difference in email, and templates make consistency a lot easier to maintain. A lot of times your templates make it so that you don't have to zoom in and out. It's flexible for a lot of different screens. It just makes life a lot easier. And when you're using the template, a lot of people say, well, how do I get a template made? Well, a lot of times you don't have to make them. If you use an email service, again, like MailChimp, Constant Contact, tons of different ones out there, they do the heavy lifting for you. They have templates built in that are designed to work on a mobile phone. Whether your mobile phone's in a landscape or a portrait format, whether it's on a tablet, whether it's on an Android, whether it's on an Apple, it doesn't really matter. Those templates work very well for all different types of phones, all different types of screens, all different types of sizes. And it just provides an easier way to do it. They also, again, they make consistency. They give you the consistent message. They help you format your consistent headers. Everything is there. And it provides also a really good database that has all your contacts for it. And another great thing is when it comes to all the legal mumbo-jumbo that you have to worry about in Canada now, they make you abide by all the rules. So if you're legal, now you're going and you do the practices and do the systems the way they want you to do it, you're still going to be legal. You don't have to worry about that kind of scenario, getting yourself into something that you collected an email or you handled it the wrong way. They do all the unsubscribes and all that stuff all for you. Another thing when you're doing an email that is going to be targeted for a mobile device, take it easy on the images. Images take time to load. If I'm on a data package, I don't want to use all my data to load in images. And you don't really need a ton of images for an email. One really good image at the top, another good image for something else that you might have in there for an ad or for a specific call to action, yes. But for the most part, you don't need them. You just need your one or two iconic images, and that's it. Also, use alt text. For some reason that image doesn't load, the alt text will tell them what the image was, and they don't feel like they missed out on something, or they won't worry too much about it. Be as concise as possible. Again, people are using iPhones and smartphones and Androids and everything. They're doing it on a limited time. They don't want to read through miles and miles and miles of content. They don't want to read a 500-page essay on why they should click on something. They want to get the first 2 or 3 messages out and know whether they're interested in your offer, your products, your services. So be very concise and easy to understand. And also, the real estate on that screen is very valuable. So again, put the most important things on that screen and leave everything else that you don't need behind. And again, one thing with email is that you want to make sure that it's, when you send them something, they can do something, they can interact. Unless it's just a notice or anything like that, if it's a sales thing, they want to get that email, they want to read it, justify whether they're interested in it, and if you have a product or an offering, make it very easy for them to know what the call to action is and what they have to do. Whether it's calling somebody, whether it's coming to visit, whether it is clicking a link and going to your website, make it easy and make sure it's easy to click and easy for them to get to. Use some larger fonts too. You don't have to be too afraid, especially when you get into, again, 35 to 40-year-olds, I can attest when you hit 40, your eyes don't go as good, and you got to crank the font up on your phone. If you use the larger font, it just makes life a lot easier and a lot nicer for us. It just really goes back to the experience side of that email. And if I have a good experience, I don't have to squint or scroll or do a lot, then it just makes my experience with that email and that engagement process with your business better, and I'll have a better feeling about your business. Same thing with colors. Don't use a light green color on a white background. It doesn't work. If you use a color that works really contrasting, again, black and white or dark gray and white work really good. If it's anything that you're using, even if you're trying to tie your branding color scheme in, just make sure the text is very easily read on that email. White background is still the best in my mind. So I'm going to talk quickly about optimizing your website for mobile as well. And some of the principles I just mentioned in email marketing, they apply very well to a website for mobile. And most people, again, are going to be using their smartphones to view your website. It's going to be the first place they're going to contact you, or they're going to even have an interaction with your business or brand. So you want to think about how you have to capture their attention, but also how good you have to be so they don't hit the back button or they don't go to a new tab or close that off and go to some other business. It's just incredible how they use that device and how they judge you upon that. If you're not doing a good job on it, they're not going to go buy your products, come visit you, do whatever you need them to do to get some money in your pocket. And consumers are a lot more savvy online. They access a ton more websites, so it's a little bit more challenging. I don't know how many, I didn't find the research on how many sites they go to these days. I know they used to go like 17 years and years ago when they were browsing on a desktop doing research, but I don't know if it's 17 or 55 or 105. It could be whatever, but the sites that don't load properly and aren't optimized, they're not going to stay there. They're not going to even browse to them. They're just going to click close, and they're going to go find another site. So when it comes to accommodating that, there's two ways of thinking. You have mobile apps and you have mobile websites. And there's really two different strategies and two different reasons why you use one or the other or both. For me, I like websites, but it really kind of depends on your end goals. A mobile website, in my mind, should be considered your first step. They have a broader reach, have broader accessibility. They're way more cost efficient than building an app for the most part. But apps are useful for developing an application that's specific to something. Again, YouTube has an app, and they also have a website. Their app, I think, personally, works better than their website, but it really depends on what it is. Some businesses just go with an app and put it in a store, and they make money that way. But really, in the travel industry, unless you have a really good reason, I personally think a website is the way to go, and make sure it's optimized for a mobile device. But the reasons I think it is because it's instantly available. As soon as you get the website up, it's good for every type of platform. It's compatible across all kinds of devices. You can update it. They don't have to have a specific model or version of iPhone. They don't have to have the iPhone OS 10 or whatever it is. They can use it on any type. You can update it. If you have to update content or photos or anything, websites are so much easier to update, so cost-effective to update now. There's no reason why you shouldn't have a website that's updated all the time. It can be easily found. They don't have to go to an app store. They don't have to do anything. They just type it into a search engine or type your URL in. It's easy. And the same thing, if they want to share it, all they got to do is send a link to a friend, and the website's available. Whereas if it's an app, they have to send a link to the web store, then they have to go search through the web store. It's a bigger process for them. A website also can be an app. Some websites that you see are kind of built to look like an app. I don't have any specific, actually TripAdvisor's website, I believe, when you go into it, it looks very much like the app that they built for TripAdvisor as well. The TripAdvisor app works mostly offline, and you can do an awful lot of things with it as well, but their website looks a lot like their app. And again, websites are a lot less expensive to create. You can create a website probably for less than $2,000 very easily, a very good quality website. But an app, you'd probably be challenged to do it for less than that. There might be people out there, but you're not going to get very much functionality out of it. Google Analytics. You're going to get all kinds of Google Analytics with your website. And if you have Google Analytics tied in there, you can go back and you can see how many people are actually using your mobile devices. So it gives you an idea, do I actually need an app later on, or should I just be working in mobile? You can go through, there's a little path there on the slide here. You go to audience, mobile, and overview, and it will actually tell you the percentage of people and what devices they're using and what the screen size is, all kinds of stuff on that. When you are doing something for mobile, and if you're doing a website at all these days, you should be looking for a responsive website design. It's the type of design and template that allows your device or your website to be displayed on any device in any format, whether it's in landscape, whether it's widescreen, whether it's portrait, whether it's a small screen, a large screen, a big desktop, a projector. It works on every format, and it just resizes it according to the shape and size of the display that it's working with. It just works better. Another couple quick things for your website is keep your content short and sweet and readable. I can't say that enough when it comes to this stuff. Short, sweet, concise. Don't blah, blah, blah on it. There's pages down inside your site that you can put all kinds of great information and tell stories and all that kind of stuff. And if somebody's really invested, they can read it. But on the first two levels, the home page, the next level, and maybe even the level after that, don't get too involved. Keep your content short, sweet. Just give them enough to bite on and lead them down the path to purchase. And another thing, simplify your navigation. If your menu contains like 9 or 10 or 11 things, and you think about how you're going to view that all on one screen, it's really hard. You can't view it left to right, and a lot of phones now and a lot of smart devices have a hamburger menu. It's like 3 little lines, looks like a little tiny hamburger, and they click on it, and it gives them a drop down of the menu. Well, if you have too many things in there, and you click that little hamburger, the next thing you know, it takes over the whole website, and they got to scroll down, and it just makes their experience a little more difficult. So again, if you have a simplified navigation, put the main thing, all the main things in that main navigation, and anything that just doesn't really fit in there or doesn't need to go in there, keep it out. You can put links to contact us in the footer, stuff like that. Provide a user-friendly search box. Very easy to do with a lot of especially with WordPress and a lot of stuff. It allows them to search for the content that they want in your website. Again, if you have the simplified navigation and the simplified content on the first 2 pages, they can't find what they want. At least give them the opportunity to search for it anyway. It's not hard to do, very easy to do, and it makes it makes a lot better user experience at the end of the day. Make it insanely fast. If you can make your website a lot faster, it's going to provide a lot better experience. And there's tons and tons of things that you can do. You can work with your developer to make pages load better. You can, again, if you don't use too many images or use the right sized images, you can make your website load a lot faster than if you put a humongous image up there right off the bat. Minimize the text that's on there. Don't make them put a lot of text in to search for things. Don't make them fill it any more in a form than you really have to. And make it visually interactive, too. If there's something there that they can see a picture on there and it just kind of goes through like a light form box that shows a bunch of different photos, videos, anything, put that stuff on there. Make it interactive. Make it a great experience at the end of the day for them. And the other thing is to test. Whenever you do something with your website, take a look at it, see how it performed. Make sure it works on different devices. If you have an iPad and you have an Android phone in the office and you have a couple different size desktops, try it. See if it works fine. See if it looks fine. Ask people what they think. And kind of take that into consideration. And then if it's not working good, you can look at your Google Analytics and get an idea. Use those tools to figure out, what's the best scenario for you and your business and your website. So the next thing I'm going to just touch a little bit on is digital advertising. And digital advertising is something that you're going to see whenever you go into an app, usually, And it's one of those things that you're going to get a lot of, you have the potential to give you a lot of traffic. But before you go and spend your money on any type of digital advertising or Google AdWords or even so much as Facebook paid ads, you want to make sure you have a great website. There's no sense in sending somebody to doing a great big email campaign or digital advertising campaign or Google AdWords campaign if your website can't turn them into paying customers. At that point in time, you're just wasting and throwing your money out the door. So you'd be better off spending your money to get your website updated and up to snuff, and then spend your money on the digital advertising. So one of the stats that kind of astounded me when I got this presentation running was that was this one, the one that said by 2019, mobile advertising will represent 72% of all U.S. digital ad spending. It really is to show that you can still do print, and yes, print will still give you traffic, but really digital advertising is where a lot of people are going to be working and a lot of people are going to be seeing, and there's a reason that stat's there, because that's where you can see how it's performing. You can quickly change it. If you put something in print in a guide, you can't change it till next year. If you put something in a digital ad and it doesn't look right, you can go back and switch that out pretty darn quick. Like I said before, almost 90% of people spend time in apps over inside of a browser. So this is where you can take advantage of mobile apps. You don't necessarily have to have your own app, but you can buy advertisement on these apps. Again, Facebook, you can buy ads on Facebook, and they're displayed through the Facebook interface on the app that's on the phone. If I boost a post, it becomes a boosted or sponsored post, and it shows again on that. That's digital advertising. Google AdWords and YouTube. You'll see YouTube has little ads that you see before the videos and inside the videos. Again, that's a type of digital advertising that you can use as well. And niche apps like Kijiji, TripAdvisor, Booking.com. When you buy advertisement with those people, and again, some of the people on this call probably will never get to the point where you're going to be buying advertising with Booking.com or TripAdvisor, but if you work with a large organization, you might put some money into those things, and you're going to be displayed on the apps, which is where people are at. Reputation. Now, at the end of the day, this is what having a great website and a great mobile presence really comes down to, is having a great reputation. A lot of people, if they don't have a good experience, and I touched on this earlier in the webinar here, if they don't have a good web experience, what are they going to do? They're going to click back or close, and they're going to go on to the next person's site. But if they have a good experience with you, they're going to stay on that site. They're going to browse your content. They're going to look for your information, hopefully come to your place, hopefully stay, buy, eat, drink, whatever. They're going to do that. But if you have a poorly designed website, they're not going to come there. They're going to have more confidence in buying from you as well. And if you have a bad website or something that can't be viewed, they don't want to recommend it to their friends because they don't want their friends and family or contacts to have the same bad experience you did. They send them great working websites or great working ads or apps. They don't send them the ones that work horrible. And I know I wouldn't, and I don't think anybody on this call would do it either. Another great tool, and because I do the customer experience program, I have to kind of touch into this, is a great thing about having a mobile device is the feedback that you can gather from mobile users that are in your business or that have visited your business. It gives them a tool that you can use text messaging, you can use online surveys, you can ask them to interact with them via an email, ask them to provide feedback. You can have it as just you can collect contact information on them. There's tons of feedback tools out there, and you can make it very easy to find that tools for them to actually get back in touch with you and tell them what kind of experience you provided to them. Then you can use those tools and the information to actually develop your business, your brand, your website, your products and services a lot better. Some of the links you might want to include: Yelp, TripAdvisor, any OTAs that you work with, Expedia, Booking.com, Hotwire, any of those ones. Google reviews. If you're working with Google a lot, you might want to link to the Google reviews links that are there and get people to put their reviews on there as well. Same thing, if you want to work on your TripAdvisor rating, put a link of TripAdvisor. Put your excellence, if you have a brand excellence award that TripAdvisor has offered you or said that you're like a 5-star client, put that on your website. Put a link to it. People are going to click on that, and then they're going to leave you a review. Implement a loyalty program. If you run a small coffee shop or you have a lot of repeat customers, there's tons of little apps that you can buy into that allow people for punch cards, for instance. They allow you to identify the best customers, and they keep them spending in your business. They keep them from going somewhere else. Strengthens the relationship that you have with them as well. And it gives you an opportunity to collect some information and great statistics on how often they come, when they come, what age group, all that kind of stuff. And it also allows you to refresh and reactivate people that may or may not have visited your business. If you see that they haven't been there for 3 months, you could send them an email or text. In these day and ages, that you can send a text and say, if you come in today, we'll give you a sandwich for half off, or get a free coffee. Next time you come, bring a friend for free, or something like that. And another thing is too, mobile device users have an opportunity, if they have a good experience and if they're given the tools to review, they can become an advocate for your business. They'll link you to social channels that they're engaged in. They'll also encourage their friends to talk about them. And you can engage them and ask them to talk about your business and their experience with your business on their social networks. And you can encourage that anywhere inside that experience that you're offering them. From the front desk to the invoice that they're getting at the end of the day. Tell your friends on Facebook. Recommend us on TripAdvisor. Let them become an advocate for your business. If they're having a great time, they're going to want to tell other people about it. But most importantly, listen to your customers. Always listen to them. They'll tell you what you need to do in your business. If you're not listening to them, chances are you're not paying attention and you're not going to do very well. But it is one of the most important things, is listening to your customers and figuring out what their needs are and accommodating those needs. So to wrap things up, I'm going to give you a couple safe assumptions that we can assume after we're all done. If your buyer persona has internet, chances are they're using a smartphone. People prefer reading emails on their mobile device and using their smartphones for more than reading emails and making calls. They use them for apps. They use them for all kinds of different things. We can assume that. And if you're not, other businesses are optimizing their mobile, or optimizing their business and their advertising and their website. They're optimizing it for mobile, and mobile marketing is having more of a focus on marketing at an increasing rate every year. You have to get on that bandwagon as well. And consumers are more likely to recommend and buy if they have a good experience with you. Like I said, good experience leads to more cash in your pocket. And the majority of advertising will be spent on digital advertising. Really go through your marketing budgets these days and see, why are you putting that in print? Ask those hard questions. Why do I print this? If I'm printing it, am I actually getting some information back? Am I getting customers back, or am I just printing it because I did it last year? If that's your answer, don't do it again. So take the low-hanging fruit first. Develop a persona, or determine the personas that you really want to go. You can use the ones I did, or you can develop your own. Tourism Technology, I'm sure in their information, they have a section, or we used to have a section on how to develop personas. It's one of the easiest things to do. You just got to think about who you're really contacting and who you want to target. Budget for your website. Again, that little ad that you're thinking, well, I just put it in because I did it before. Take the $300 or $400 or $500 and budget that to pay somebody to really go through your website. You've done some SEO and search engine optimization courses through here. Take some of the tricks and tips that you've learned in there and budget that to go into your website. Don't worry about building an app. If you don't have an app, it's not the end of the world. You don't need one today. You might need one in the future, but chances are you probably get by with your website very well. Online ads, they should be paired with apps. If you really want to get into the app world, spend some money with Google or YouTube or Kijiji, or maybe if TripAdvisor does have a low-hanging fruit place to buy ads, buy them in that. Maybe there's some local apps that people use around there that you can buy advertising in. Look at those opportunities. Gather feedback and listen to your customer needs. I can't stress that enough. And engage and contact them. After they've come and visited you, use an email. Use some sort of way of interacting with them. Contact them. Tell them to come visit you again, or leave you a review and let them become an advocate for you. But get started today. Don't wait. It's 2016 now. In a few days, it's going to be 2017. And, you know, the years and time click off so quick in tourism. I know. I've been here for a long time. Don't wait, because if you wait, it's harder to catch up than it is to keep up, in my mind. So if you're there now, great, keep up. If you're not there, play catch up, because the longer you wait, the harder it is to catch up. So if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask, I'm not sure how we do this, Melissa, but they can ask it now, and I'd be happy to answer it. Or if not, then they can also email me. I'm sure my email is included. Actually, I think it's included on the next slide. Yep. If you want to ask me a question after the fact, you can always email me at one of those two email addresses and get in touch with me there.
Thank you so much, Jamie. The presentation was really informative. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask Jamie now pertaining to mobile technology or mobile devices, you can press #6 on your phone line to unmute it, or please type it in the chat window. And while we're waiting there, Jamie, I was just wondering if you could speak for a second about the concept of geo-targeting, the advertising practice where you can target mobile device users who are within a certain radius or vicinity of your business.
Yeah, you can use, there's a few apps out there that you can target, and you can see who's around. I don't have a ton of experience in using it, unfortunately. When you work for a nonprofit, they don't give you a lot of money to play with that stuff. But there is a lot of information on the web to do that. But geo-targeting is really good. If an easy one to do, I can tell you this right off the bat, is to use something like Foursquare was one that a lot of people used. I don't know if a lot of people use it now. But you could see who was in there and ask for recommendations, and people could tell you what's been there. It was a really good tool in this day. And again, even Twitter, you can put a hashtag for this town that you're in. Like if you're in St. John's, or for instance, if you're in Charlottetown, you can go hashtag Charlottetown, where's the best place to eat? And somebody following that hashtag can, and if you're a business and you're following that hashtag and you happen to be a restaurant, you can say, come eat here, show me your phone, I'll give you the best seats in the house, or we'll make something special for you. You know, you can use those kind of easy geo-targeting tools available.
For sure, and I know I've experienced a lot as a user as well. Just if anybody uses Snapchat, when you're in a particular location based on the GPS of your phone, businesses, or you see it a lot with municipalities and cities, can create a Snapchat geo-filter, so that if you're using Snapchat within a particular vicinity, geographic vicinity, you can see different filters that might be representative of the place you're in. So, for example, St. John's uses them, and downtown St. John's specifically, you can see different filters related to either businesses or the city itself that you can put on your photos in Snapchat. And I know I've also experienced it, and it can be a little bit unsettling at first, but when you think about it from a user's perspective. But I recently flew from St. John's to Deer Lake, and when I landed in Deer Lake, I was eating lunch, and I just flicked through my Facebook and started seeing ads for the Holiday Inn Express in Deer Lake and other local businesses, because based on the fact that I was in Deer Lake and my phone's GPS was on and registering that, they were able to, their social media advertising campaigns were able to target me directly on my mobile device because they knew I was there in the area.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times when you buy your advertising, that's one of the things that they will do for you. A lot of them do it by default anyway. You don't have to ask them because they know they're going to get a better click-through rate as well.
For sure.
I see we do have a couple questions in here for Colette. If you do send them, you do have to get their permission these days to send them something. But again, if they're already a client and they've already worked with you or bought from you, you do get one opportunity to send them a follow-up email, and in that you can ask them to subscribe to your list, or you can continue sending to them as long as they don't unsubscribe to anything or don't say, take me off your list. And as far as
we've actually, sorry Jamie, we've
go
actually
ahead.
done a webinar in the past about the Canada's anti-spam legislation when it first started really being implemented, and I believe I have the PowerPoint of that on hnl.ca, so I can touch base with that after, Colette.
Great. And as far as like boosted ads and stuff, I think boosted ads are great things. It's people are searching, and Facebook's really kind of creepy at some point in time because they know where you're at, and they start sending you ads and all kinds of stuff depending on what you looked at and where you're at and what your interests are and even what kind of friends you have. But they are a wicked way of boosting your ads. The way I like to advertise stuff when I buy an actual ad on Facebook is I geo-target it down very, very niche. I only want to target 1,000, maybe 1,500 people when I target with an ad. And I want to I might spend 50 or 60 bucks over the course of a week, but if I'm only targeting 30 or 40 or 300 or 400 people, maybe 500 people, I can spend a lot of money to just drive that ad home with them. But at the same time, if you're just trying to get brand awareness, you can do it the other way, but you can just geo-target a certain city, area, what have you. But definitely if you're doing Facebook advertising or Google as well, or any type of advertising, if you have an opportunity to geo-target, especially if you're in the travel industry, it's a really good way of getting better bang for your buck.
And I know Colette has had some really good experience using Facebook paid advertising, and it goes back to the importance of really understanding who your audience is and those different types of personas as well. Colette, having a number of years of experience in the B&B industry, recognized that a lot of her client base were retired teachers or from the teaching profession and from the province of Ontario. So Colette, armed with that information, was able to target a lot of her Facebook paid advertising at that demographic and that geographic location, and did see some return on that for sure.
Yeah, that's the way to do it as well.
She
but
25 new bookings, and she only spent about $50 on Facebook.
That's pretty darn good. Good job.
Yeah, that's a pretty good return, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Abigail, we haven't done any Snapchat training thus far, but it is on our radar for 2017. So feel free to reach out if you have specific questions. Again, Snapchat is so new, and a lot of us, if we're using it or are familiar with it, might only be on a personal level as opposed to a business or organizational level. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out, and then keep an eye out for something that we may be offering in 2017.
Melissa, on there and inside the presentation that I gave you, there's a link to pretty well every site that I went to find information about to build this presentation. So feel free for everybody that does get it to go through those links. There's a lot of great information just in those links, but even the sites they're attached to have tons and tons and tons of information on all kinds of different topics when it comes to digital marketing, mobile marketing, advertising, website development, email marketing, you name it, it's there.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. And what I'm going to do is include the PowerPoint on our follow-up email after the webinar is over.
Perfect.
So if anybody has any other questions, you can type them in the chat window now. Otherwise, Jamie's email is provided in the PowerPoint, and like I said, you will get it in the follow-up email after the webinar. So if you're wondering what your next learning steps might be following this presentation, there are many different options available to you simply by contacting your provincial tourism industry association, We'd be happy to help you determine your next steps, whether it be one-on-one mentoring, further workshops or training opportunities, or if you just simply have any questions about any of the topics we discussed today or technology in general. This is our last Tourism Technology webinar for the fall of 2016, so I'd like to thank all of you who have been joining us all throughout the season. I'd like you to head on over to tourismtechnology.com, where you will be seeing recordings of each of the webinars posted in the resource library. There's a couple that are already up there, and some are in the process of being edited and will be up hopefully before Christmas, but you can access all of the previous webinars at tourismtechnology.com. Again, I'd like to thank Jamie. He delivered a really great presentation today, and it had a lot of useful information in it. I even learned some stuff myself, so that was great. Thank you, Jamie.
No problem.
As I mentioned, you will receive a follow-up email with the PowerPoint attached, and also a link to a survey that you can use to give us some feedback or suggest some future topics for webinars. Again, I'd like to thank our project partners, the provinces of New Brunswick, PEI, and Newfoundland and Labrador, and the tourism industry associations of each province, including TIE&B, TIPI, and H&L, and of course, Tourism Atlantic, ACOA. Thanks again, everybody, for joining today, and we look forward to working together in the future.